Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am an astrologer and I make videos all about astrology. Okay, so in today's video we're going to be discussing the 5 things you need to know about this new moon in Virgo taking place on the 27th of August 2022, so stay tuned. But before we do dive into today's video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button and click the bell. And if you're interested in a personal reading, you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. There you can also find my Practical Astrology ebooks and merch. All the links will be in the description box below. I do hope that you find this video to be helpful. Let's do this. Okay, so the first thing you need to know about this new moon in Virgo taking place on the 27th of August 2022 is that the moon in Virgo will conjunct the sun in Virgo at 4 degrees. And the number 4 in numerology represents things like order, structure, stability, determination, organization, responsibility, and hard work. And the thing about Virgo is that it's a pretty dedicated and hard working sign. Virgos know how to get the job done and to do it correctly, and sometimes brilliantly, even if they can't see it. They can't see it that way, even if they notice that there's always room for improvement. And also, even if they overthink and second guess themselves. Yeah. Virgos can feel like their life is a mess at times, or a lot of the times. But still, Virgos are great at planning and scheduling and organizing. Therefore, this new moon in Virgo, with it then being at 4 degrees, is quite fitting. Moreover, the number 4 in numerology is seen as a no-nonsense number, and Virgos can be like this as well. Yes, they still have a wild side, they have an effort side, they have a very sexual and sensual side too. But when there is a task that needs to be completed, or when there is a deadline, or when there is something that needs to be cleaned up and attended to immediately, Virgos will show up. They will rise to the occasion, and there'll be no nonsense as they do so. No messing around here. Let's be serious. Let's focus and address this situation, because quite honestly, I don't want to have to think about it anymore. This is interesting to me because I have a Virgo rising and I'm a life path 4 as well. And before typing up this script, I really didn't feel like doing it. I just had such a busy week. I'm always pretty busy, to be fair. But on this occasion, I was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And I also had a lot of emotional things going on. But I did it. I did it because I didn't want to try and relax, knowing that this task wasn't completed. I can't chill and relax, unwind when I know I have a job to do. But that's probably my issue. It's something I need to work on within myself, perhaps. But besides, I know I always feel great after completing a task. I had to focus and be no nonsense, just get on with it, just do it. You'll feel much better for it. And I had to remind myself as well of the reward afterwards, just visualizing myself relaxing on the sofa, watching Netflix, knowing that I committed myself to a task and I followed through. Perhaps you can relate in some way to what I'm saying, or there is a situation in your life that is similar to what I'm saying. A work matter maybe, or something about your daily tasks and chores, or maybe there's something about your relationships that needs attending to, and so you want to structure and reorganize a few things there. Perhaps there are a few things you want to clean up and tidy within your life, or there is something you would like to repair or even solve. Maybe you wish to set new intentions when it comes to systems, order, routines, and service. Yes, during this new moon in Virgo, try to think about your dedication to things. But at the same time, remember to use your discernment, okay? Consider what your priorities are. You can't do it all at once. I have to remind myself of that all the time. And still, there can be times when we feel like we need to do it all. But yes, as I say, we're not superheroes. We have to take things one step at a time. And realistically speaking, we only have so much energy to burn. Sometimes our daily responsibilities, they can pile up and they can feel burdensome, though maybe that's my Saturn in the 6th house speaking here. Still, priorities, and also thinking about unnecessary stress and about the stress and pressures that we can put on ourselves. Time management as well, all these mundane tasks, all the mundane things that we must think about. Alright, so let's get into these signs. Let's say this new moon is taking place in your 5th house, so looking at you Taurus, Sun, Moon and risings. Perhaps during this new moon, you reflect on the structure and organization of your hobbies and interests. Perhaps there are a few things you would like to adjust or clean up there, or maybe you consider what your priorities are within your romantic life, or you set new intentions when it comes to problem solving within your romantic relationships. Then again, it could be that you address the routines of your children. But then let's say this new moon is taking place in your 1st house, so looking at you Virgo, Sun, Moon and risings. Perhaps during this new moon, you reflect on your schedules, your everyday routines. So looking at these things whilst considering your life path. It could be that you decide to change something about your appearance, just something fresh and new, much like I did with my hair, which is funny because I got the itch to change my hair without consciously thinking about the new moon in Virgo coming up, though I was aware, of course, that Virgo season was coming up. Or maybe you consider what your priorities are when it comes to your overall outlook and identity. Then again, it could be that you address your routines through a lens of putting yourself first. I know for myself, after watching a fellow Virgo rising on here talk about grounding herself by walking on the grass barefoot each morning, I was like, I need to try this. There's also a few health related matters that I would like to attend to. So if you have your sun, moon or rising in Virgo, perhaps you can relate in some way. Or let's say this new moon is taking place in your 9th house, so looking at you Capricorn, Sun, Moon and risings. Perhaps during this new moon you reflect on your dedication and your priorities when it comes to your higher knowledge, when it comes to your higher meaning, as well as looking at how you share that knowledge with the world. Perhaps there are a few things you want to reorganize, you want to clean up, or maybe you adjust some things to do with your beliefs. This could be something related to your health, for example, or perhaps you consider your priorities when it comes to further training that you're doing, or when it comes to even a legal matter, or you set new intentions regarding your faith. The second thing you need to know about this new moon in Virgo is that it will biquintile Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. Okay, so we have some energy pointing toward talents and gifts, but at the same time, remember Pluto is retrograde in Capricorn. Therefore, whatever we decide to adjust, whatever we dedicate our time to, there is an element of seriousness and possibly perfectionism, like deeply so. There is also an element of coldness and being strict, being rigid. It's as if this new moon is whipping us into shape and we can't escape it. We can't run away from it. It's like, no, you need to look at all of this practical stuff and you need to think hard and long about it all as well, because it's these things that will relate to your transformations. They will be a part of your death and rebirth. Perhaps things can feel like they are falling apart. Okay, there can be that sense of destruction and chaos coming into the equation. Maybe a few things must die, so to speak, before they are reborn. But there's also an opportunity to turn our transformations and growth into talents, into gifts. And so whatever new intentions you set regarding your health or your work or your daily schedules, Remember, responsibility and follow through are so important, but also remember that things can change so drastically and intensely. You might go through something very intense, very eye-opening. You can learn a lot from delays, setbacks, and being diligent. We can also learn a lot about patience, discipline, and being self-reliant, and also showing restraint. But at the same time, we can learn lessons from moments when we fall and when we rise, moments when we are dragged through the chaos so that we can then bring what is hidden to light. And the thing about this as well is Pluto will actually be 26 degrees, so creating the number 8 in numerology. And so this number is associated with success and long-term achievement. And with Pluto being in Capricorn, the sign that rules long-term achievements and goals, again, how fitting. Indeed, this moon is a very earthy moon, so pay attention to what practical matters come up for you during this new moon, because they might become a part of something you focus on long term. So on that note, let's say that this new moon is taking place in your 4th house, so looking at you Gemini, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this new moon, you set new intentions when it comes to your home life, when it comes to your family life. You decide to tidy up things there, rearrange a few things there. And at the same time, with Pluto retrograde transiting your 8th house, maybe you go through transformations within your intimate relationships. Perhaps you make some practical changes, or you rise from a challenging situation. Maybe you consider how gifted you are at nurturing your family members through difficult times, or you consider how gifted you are at looking beneath the surface. Perhaps you think seriously about your living situation because a deeply emotional situation presents itself. Or let's say that this new moon is taking place in your 12th house, so looking at you Libra, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this new moon, you set new intentions when it comes to your spiritual life, when it comes to your alone time. You reflect on your priorities there, or you contemplate how you plan things, and maybe you go through transformations within your family or within your home. Maybe you make practical changes, or you rise from a challenging situation there. Or it could be that you consider how gifted you are at merging with your family's feelings. So looking at how you sacrifice your feelings for your family, or maybe you consider how gifted you are at creating structure and order within the home. This could be where you think seriously about your time in solitude because a family situation presents itself. Or let's say this new moon is taking place in your 8th house, so looking at you Aquarius, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this new moon, you set new intentions when it comes to your intimate relationships, when it comes to vulnerability. You reflect on what you would like to clean up and reorganize there. And at the same time, with Pluto retrograde transiting your 12th house, maybe you go through transformations during your alone time, okay? Maybe you transform spiritually, or you make practical changes. Maybe you rise from a challenging situation there. It could be that you consider how gifted you are at hiding how you truly feel, even though you want to establish greater intimacy. Or you consider how gifted you are at structuring things when no one is looking. Or how gifted you are at managing other people's money or other people's stuff. Emotional stuff even. It could be that you think seriously about a vulnerable situation because a spiritual situation presents itself. The third thing you need to know about this new moon in Virgo is that it will square Mars in Gemini. Okay, so with the moon and Mars both being in Mercury ruled signs, arguments, disagreements are likely. This could look like us trying to outsmart one another with logic, with reason. This could look like us not listening to one another because we're so focused on speaking and never shutting up. There is this likelihood of us blabbing on and on and on and on, and at the same time coming across as know-it-alls. We might feel this urge to correct others or to tell them what's what. So how it really is, how we really feel. But without listening, good luck. Therefore, during this new moon in Virgo, watch your tongue And besides, we often don't like being criticized, especially if the message is delivered in this I know better than you type of way. And also, we might not like having all this information just thrown at us. Just keep in mind that Gemini energy is more swift and Virgo energy is more reserved. Gemini typically likes to talk through things quickly, and Virgo digests things, sits with things. Yeah, they sit with the information longer. So you can only imagine what happens whenever these two energies sort of collide and make that square aspect. Okay, so let's say this new moon is taking place in your third house, so looking at your Cancer, Sun, Moon and risings. Perhaps during this new moon, you reflect on your communication and your mindset. Maybe you rethink a few things there, like considering your mental well-being, for example, or going over how you speak to people, how you listen. Perhaps you polish a few things up, you make some adjustments. But at the same time, with Mars being in Gemini, transiting your 12th house, it appears as if you can experience frustrations when it feels like you aren't being heard, for example, or when you want to get your point across, but you struggle to do so. Others trying to outsmart you just might piss you off. Maybe you experience moments when you want to communicate your anger, but then you realize it's pointless, and so you choose peace. Or let's say this new moon is taking place in your 11th house, so looking at you Scorpio, Sun, Moon and risings. Perhaps during this new moon, you reflect on your group involvements and your alliances, and even looking at fame and recognition. Perhaps you address a few things there, like considering how healthy certain friendships are, how healthy certain groups are, or going over how practical certain teams are, certain alliances are. Could be that you reorganize a few things then within this area of your life. You polish a few things up, you make a few adjustments. But at the same time, with Mars and Gemini transiting your 8th house, it appears as if you can experience frustrations. Frustrations when it comes to emotional bonding and vulnerability. Maybe you find it difficult to get the words out, to find the words to say, or maybe you bottle up your anger and your frustrations. And if others try to come across as know-it-alls, you'll feel like exploding. Okay, so the fourth thing you need to know about this new moon in Virgo is that it will semi-sextile Mercury in Libra. And keep in mind that Mercury is the ruler of Virgo. All right, so there is some more uncomfortable and uneasy energy. Because whilst Virgo energy is more about speaking matter-of-factly and being correct, can be much more black and white, Mercury in Libra is more concerned with compromise, harmony, being tactful, thinking more about the nuance, considering the grey area. Mercury in Libra may not necessarily care so much about being right, but it's still about their voice, their view, their opinions being heard and taken into consideration. It's this whole attitude of, do you see where I'm coming from though? I can see where you're coming from, I can see your point of view, but you gotta see mine as well. And so this energy can conflict a bit with the Virgo energy that says, but this is correct. These are the facts. This information says this, and that's final. Virgo energy, as I say, it can be a lot more black and white, whilst Libra energy, as I said as well, can be more nuanced. And so during this new moon in Virgo, explore alternatives, consider other options, and also think about the middle, okay? The in-between. Maybe situations aren't only this way or that way. There's something in the middle to be explored. So on that note, let's say this new moon is taking place in your 7th house. So looking at you Pisces, Sun, Moon and risings, perhaps during this new moon, you reflect on your relationships, on your partnerships. Perhaps you contemplate your priorities within them, okay? Or you go over the practicalities of give and take, of sharing. But at the same time, with Mercury in Libra transiting your 8th house, maybe you explore other options when it comes to intimacy and vulnerability. Maybe you want to hear another person's opinion, or you want to share what you think. Perhaps such discussions can improve your relationships in some way. Or let's say this new moon is taking place in your 6th house, so looking at you Aries, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this new moon, you reflect on your daily responsibilities and your routines. Maybe you contemplate your priorities within these areas. I know for me, I certainly have been. Or you go over the practicalities of your health and your well-being. Yeah, for me, I have an Aries moon and there are a few health changes that I'm really wanting to make as well. Though at the same time, with Mercury in Libra transiting your 7th house, maybe you explore other options when it comes to your relationships and your partnerships. Perhaps you want to hear another person's opinion or you want to share what you think. Perhaps such discussions can improve your mental and physical well-being in some way. And the 5th and final thing you need to know about this new moon in Virgo taking place on the 27th of August 2022 is Mercury, so the ruler of Virgo, will trine Mars in Gemini, but it will oppose Jupiter retrograde in Aries. Okay, great. So with the trine between Mars and Gemini and Mercury in Libra, we have an opportunity to resolve any arguments and disagreements that arise during this new moon. We can think about others and put ourselves into other people's shoes. We can also try to find a peaceful solution, provided we listen, of course. Okay, I was talking about that earlier. Provided we communicate effectively. However, with Jupiter retrograde opposing Mercury, especially given that it's conjunct Chiron retrograde in Aries, our feelings may well and truly be hurt. Certain things people say can be wounding, can be triggering. It feels like our wounds are being opened up. We might take things to heart very personally, okay? It's like things are a personal attack. Or maybe it's that when things don't feel harmonious or peaceful, we freak out a bit. We become nervous, we become restless, anxious. We get annoyed as well. We just want things to be okay. And when they aren't, it just feels like we want to scream. You know, the anger is just too painful. The disagreements don't feel good. Still, anywhere Chiron is, there is an opportunity to heal, and with Chiron conjunct Jupiter, healing can help us grow and growth can help us heal. Not to mention, with Mars being in Gemini, there's also an element of humor involved here, or there can be. You know, it's this whole notion of not taking ourselves too seriously, being able to laugh things off. I've been doing that a lot throughout this video as I've been making a few mistakes here and there. See, I'm laughing right now. Anyway, so let's say this new moon is taking place in your 2nd house. So looking at you, Leo, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this new moon, you reflect on your physical security and your self-worth. Perhaps you go over a few financial matters, or you contemplate your priorities and how they align with your values. And so you make some adjustments, okay? But at the same time, maybe you work through a few painful beliefs. Maybe you want to resolve things with some friends or within your teams, or you can use tact and diplomacy to do that. But there are still some words that hurt, some words that trigger insecurities that you already believe to be true about yourself, perhaps. You might grow from such things, and you may also assess the bigger picture. Or let's say this new moon is taking place in your 10th house, so looking at you Sagittarius, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this new moon, you reflect on your career path and your social position. Perhaps you go over a few achievement matters, or you contemplate your priorities and how they align with your work ethic or purpose. And so you make some readjustments. But at the same time, it could be that you work through a few painful inner child issues. Maybe you want to resolve things with your partners and close friends, and you can consider the group in order to do that. But there are still some expressions that can hurt, some expressions that trigger insecurities that you already feel bad about, things related to childhood maybe, and you might grow from such things and assess the bigger picture. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video talking about the 5 things you need to know about this new moon in Virgo taking place on the 27th of August 2022. Please let me know if you find this video to be helpful. I would really appreciate that. And as always, let me know your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section down below. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And of course, if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then make sure that you click that subscribe button and also give this video a like if you did like it today. And I will be back with another video very, very soon. Bye! Happy new moon!